talking.
I'm not.
Oh.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can. I was like, man,
I'm not a ventriloquist.
I thought his mouth was moving, but it wasn't.
I can't hear you if you're talking.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
It's from the Monte Cristo Cigar Lounge at Caesars in Las Vegas. So we took one of our trips last weekend, and it's your normal cigar lounge. It's inside of Caesars, and these are way overpriced. I mean, this one is probably what, 24, 28, maybe, depending on where
Less
you go.
than $30.
Yeah, and there it was 38.
Okay, but you expect to pay a little bit more.
$10 or $12 more for being inside Caesars. Anything on the Vegas Strip is overpriced because no one wants to leave. And it's not one of those things where, I mean, some people drive in. A lot of people from California and Arizona will drive up. But most of the people flew in. Ubers are expensive, so you don't want to leave. It's hard to leave. It's hard to go, like, to the store. There's there's a Target right there on the Strip and stuff like that. But for a cigar shop, they've kind of got the monopoly. I'm sure there's others, but
yeah, I always
you
look
can buy
for 'em.
cigars in like pretty much anywhere there that sells liquor is also going to sell some cigars, but an actual cigar like shop, some nice ones. So they had a good little good selection. They had, what do you call the ones, the size that is almost like an egg shape? It's like really fat.
I know what you're talking
and then goes super skinny.
Not sure.
Not like almost like a teardrop, not an egg shape.
We should have a poster.
We have a need for a lot of posters. But they had, I really would love to have it. But it was a set of 12 Oliva Serie V's in that wrap. Okay. In a box. It was like for $240.
Ooh.
So $20 each, which is more than you should pay for a Serie V, but for the set, it'd be nice if you were celebrating something, you had 12 cigars.
It's called a short perfecto.
Short perfecto. What are these called? These are small.
Yeah. Just a regular old. I mean, there's this particular name. Maybe a short Toro.
Mm-hmm.
But then it also has to do with the gauge, which is the square.
Yeah. I like it.
I like these as a daily, not this size.
Right. So a lot of times when we're on the pod, I don't finish. If I got a bigger cigar, I don't finish it. We just get to talking too much or whatever. So I thought this was a good size for the pod. But
well, it's summertime, so
I got my summer shirt on.
Nice. I got my Father's Day present early.
I'm flying to Orlando tomorrow, so maybe that's why I should, for work stuff. But and then coming back, and then we're going to Jamaica, not this week, but next week. So I'm hoping to find some good cigar rolling in Jamaica too.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You can transport those back.
Yeah, there's a certain, you can bring a lot. There is a number. There's a limit.
Yeah, it's weight.
Okay.
Because I looked when I was in Mexico because I was going to try to find a place and bring them back. However, I then learned that
I thought it was I think it's like 30 though. It's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's more than I'm going to bring back.
Oh, for sure. But okay, the humidor thing that I carry around, I have two of them.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 20 cigar, and I could take 3. And I could bring back 3.
Okay.
So that would be 60.
I'm going to need to get one of those for traveling back then, because I definitely want to get some.
I'll loan you mine.
There's guys that are just sitting there rolling them,
Yeah. I like a cigar that is very much consistent.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes when you get those hand-rolled ones. So
yeah.
I sent you a text about the one we had last week.
Mm-hmm.
Much better after the humidor. I think when you go into a lounge, and this seems to be all over the place, the humidity is much different based on where you are in the country. So some people keep the humidity high, some people keep it low, some people keep the temperature of the building, and we're now in Texas, so it's hot.
Mm-hmm. But very humid.
but very humid right now, oddly enough.
My humidor right now is having no trouble.
Yeah, not at all. Well, I have one of the ones that's an automatic.
Mm-hmm.
So I got it for Christmas or birthday or something, and you just close the door, set the temperature, the humidity kind of keeps itself.
Mm-hmm.
So I keep mine at 68 and then the 70 temperature.
Mm-hmm.
And that seems to be perfect for what I like. Everybody's going to be different, but I like that.
Yeah, I think mine's set at like 70 for humidity.
That's a good scar. Man. Sometimes I enjoy when I get a good one because then it reminds me that, man, sometimes money does matter.
What is that saying that people that say money does about happiness about all the wrong stuff?
Yeah, that's true. There's some truth to that. There's definitely some truth to that. Yeah, I mean, we're not planning on traveling anywhere real big this summer. We went on some major trips last summer. And then we went on one for spring break. So our travel this summer will be relatively short trips, day trips.
Yeah, like you're saying, I feel like it's been forever since we recorded. We only skipped 1 week. So
And we didn't even really skip a whole week.
No.
A day early.
So
Lots happened.
Lots going on. Couple things.
Well, it's funny though, because you text me, you're like, hey, it's going to be a slow week.
As soon as I said that.
As soon as you sleep.
I was like, it's summertime.
It's summertime. Congress is about to go on vacation. And then lots of things happen. But sports-wise, Stars fired their coach.
Didn't see that coming.
I think after he pulled Otter and didn't tell him, when he sat him in game 5?
Yeah.
When he sat him, I kind of felt like this guy's message may be lost.
I thought that might be it, but I don't know. I didn't see that coming. I was surprised by it.
I'm not surprised when a coach gets fired anymore.
You surprised the Knicks fired their coach?
No, not at all. I think that they want to blame the coaches all the time. It doesn't matter. I mean, you see this all the way across the board too. It's always the coach's fault because you can't just change the players willy-nilly. So I just think that a lot of times you're going to just blame the coach and move on.
My 10-year-old's hot take, because he's a Knicks fan, he's a Jalen Brunson fan. My 10-year-old's hot take, and you're the basketball guy, so tell me if this is right. I was just like, yeah, son, that sounds awesome. Probably some good analysis there. He said that no one else on the Knicks can score except for Jalen Brunson, but he can't play defense. So when he's on the court, the other team can run up the score because he can't play defense. But when he's not on the court, the Knicks can't score. And that was the whole problem and why they lost. He was pretty upset.
Pretty accurate. But we know another person that's that way too. There's 2 of them in the league right now. Well, multiple of them. Jalen Brunson being one of them. I mean, Luka's that way. The problem was they had surrounded him with defensive players. Not going to go on a Luka tangent, I promise.
I was trying to bait you into it.
But SGA's that way. Like that was the problem that they had in game 1 of the finals. Is SGA went off in 3 quarters and he couldn't. He scored, but that was the whole Pacers plan.
You think Indiana's got it?
No,
really.
I think they're going to stretch the series. I wasn't sure they were going to win either of the first 2 in Oklahoma City.
You betting on it?
No, Carlisle's too good of a coach.
Yeah,
like he's a good coach, and like
now where did he used to be the coach?
The Dallas Mavericks.
Oh yeah,
that's right. And I am excited. I'm getting excited about the draft. Now, if they cut ties with Jason Kidd, I think you're definitely going to then not re-sign Kyrie. You're trying to trade AD, and you're just going to blow it up and build around Cooper Flag. Because the Knicks were supposedly interested in him.
Yeah,
having in an interview, and I don't know if they'll actually do it, but it'll be interesting to see if they do. You could trade him.
Whoever asked permission, I thought I saw the Mavs denied it. Was that?
There was no reputable people that said they denied it. There was a lot of like speculation on whether or not he would even do it. Like I think Stein came out and was like, he doesn't really think that, but there was never like the Mavericks PR people came out and said, no, we're not allowing it.
Yeah.
So we'll see. It's all over the place though. Like, and there's right now, especially in Dallas, sports are slow. So, you have the NFL draft that is already over. Now we're in voluntary or OTAs. And
isn't our WNBA star hurt?
Yes. So the young
Paige
rookie.
Buckers.
Yeah. And I don't follow the WNBA. I don't. I mean,
I'll see a news. The only reason I know that is because I saw it scroll across my feed. You know.
yeah, and I don't even pay attention when it comes across my feed. I do enjoy the guys betting on Angel Reese to miss her first shot of every game, and they're 6 for 6 right now. So like they're trying to get to like 20 or something,
Yeah.
and like last I checked when I was scrolling through TikTok, is they were like at 6 or 8 or something.
Oh my
like that.
gosh.
She had a very unimpressive stat line the other night. It was like she's had 4 points and she shot like 23 times or something like that. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, that's why I don't watch this.
Mm-hmm.
The Rangers can't cover first base either.
It was pitching. Now it's defense. Like,
And hitting.
yeah. Well, yeah, that's been a problem all year to me. In the games I've watched where I've paid attention, I have not paid as much attention to them kind of since school got out. Kind of like school gets out. I had like a routine during school, but
Right.
I haven't paid much attention to baseball the last couple of weeks.
I'm trying to find them on TV, but I just refuse.
You didn't do the victory
I
pose?
didn't.
I didn't either, and now it's too late.
I tried to like justify like, okay, it's only $100. You're gonna watch it, but then it's like it's $100,
Mm-hmm.
and I know we're not even to the All-Star break yet, so the season's not even halfway over.
Yeah.
But it's like I even looked at like our plan to add it to our whatever DirecTV stream we have, and it was gonna be $20 a month. So it's like I may as well just go with the Victory Plus, but I just can't. Can't. It should be easy to watch,
It should.
and it's not.
Baseball's weird, but that's why the NFL is one of the reasons. It's not the reason, but it's one of the reasons the NFL is the most popular sport, because they found a way to make it on TV for everybody.
Yeah.
You know, like think about how many NBA games are on cable, you know, or on TNT or something like
Or
that.
ESPN
right?
at
Yeah,
least.
Right, ESPN. Yeah. So, but you know, for football, every single Sunday, I can come home from church. I can turn on either Fox or CBS, and they're going to have a game on. Fox is going to have another game on at 3:30. CBS sometimes has an afternoon game on at 3:30. Then you're going to have Sunday Night Football. You had Thursday Night Football, which now is on the streaming. It is on Prime now.
But it's not hard to find.
It's not hard to find. And then, of course, Monday Night Football is ESPN, but it's also ABC.
Right.
So, like, NFL's figured this out. Like, hey, we will make so much more money if we can have this out for everyone to see. And then they're throwing extra games in there for you to go watch. Like, I love football season so much. Even as a Cowboys fan, I love football
It's
season
coming.
so much.
It's
Yeah.
coming. I'm getting excited, and I know we talked about it a couple episodes, but I'm hopeful.
Yes.
I have a little more hope
I don't know.
this season than I did.
I was cracking myself up a couple episodes ago because I was getting hopeful, but now I'm like, no, it ain't going to be nothing.
Well, you know, it could be something.
It could be something.
We'll see.
It'll be interesting to see what the Giants do. I feel like they had a really good offseason and draft. Like, I'm not expecting much. I'm expecting the Eagles to run the division. Then I'm expecting to be
until you knock them off.
Then it'll be between the Cowboys and the Giants. And I don't know about the Commanders. I don't know what that quarterback's going to do. So
We'll have to make our predictions as we get closer to the season.
Yeah.
Because it's gonna
And
be
we'll
all
be
over
back
the
to like
place.
recording and having games on in the background.
Right.
So
That'd be
fun.
nice.
Yeah.
I'm excited about
Oh,
that.
I'm excited.
Did you pay attention at all to the college softball World Series? Because Texas had 2 teams in it.
Yeah.
So one of the girls that I used to coach plays for Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And like it's interesting because like I know in my world, I don't know if and this happens in your world, but like you can see someone when they're really young and think that kid is special. Now, I don't know if that translates into accounting or CPA industry. Like you see someone who has drive and
Man, did you see that kid? He never uses his mouse, but he does Excel. It's all keyboard commands. He's going to be special. That's how we do it. Yeah.
so I mean, but you see what I'm saying.
No.
I've only seen 3 kids that were that way,
Mhm.
where I just thought, man, that kid is special, and she's one of them.
Mhm.
She just phenomenal athlete all the way around, and a great story. I mean, I'm happy for her. She had an error, I think, in the first game. You know, was able to brush it off and then go right back in there, and she made a double play right the next batter.
Sure.
So it was an awesome experience to watch her, you know. And then like my daughter was in the same in high school at the same time, so she didn't get to play with her, but she was in the same program, so she's like, that's kind of cool too to experience that part. But yeah, it was a great. I didn't realize how much fun college softball was.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of fun to watch. And then the girl that's from Tech that got the $1 million NIL deal.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, their pitcher. She signed like a $1.1 million deal last year. So this season that she pitched.
Mm-hmm.
And then they announced right before Game 3 that she had signed another one that was like 1.2 or something like that. Exactly the same.
Did you see the Supreme Court cleared the way for colleges to pay them directly?
I saw that.
Yeah.
So how are they having to do that before?
The Booster Club.
Through the booster?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I didn't think that would change. I figured that would happen. I mean, I just assumed the university would. But then the universities paid them automatically. I just guess that's what I assumed. But then this also gives the NCAA the ability to have a salary cap.
Yes.
So
that's what I think. I was thinking about this the other day when I saw that SCOTUS decision come down, and I thought, okay, we've had it for a few years now. I think we'll have it for a few more years. We'll see how this goes, but then you'll start seeing the regulation come down.
Right.
To regulate, kids transferring and total money. And I didn't think about a salary cap, but I bet you're right.
Well, and then like you can hold the kids accountable to their contracts.
Mm-hmm.
So if we paid you $100,000 to sign an NIL deal,
mm-hmm.
and then you're going to continue to be paid
mm-hmm.
for the entire 12 months, you can't leave. So I think that's going to be good as far as like competitive advantage, I guess. So it kind of makes it a little more even. And
I've often wondered
I don't really care about that, but
I mean, the money, whoever's paying it now, the money's coming mostly from the boosters, right?
correct.
You're a UT alum. You want to see their sports do well. You graduated from there. You have your own business, and you're doing well, and you give money along with the other boosters, and you get players in, right? So I've often wondered why they don't structure it to say like, all right, we're going to get you a Lambo, and we're going to get you like some living money while you're here, but you're getting all the rest of this when you graduate.
Yeah.
Like I don't know why they haven't structured it, because you have so many kids that are like they get all their money that year. I don't know if it has to be that way.
I don't either.
I would think not, and I would think you would want to, as a booster, say, all right, we'll give you this deal, but you're going to stay here. You're going to see this thing through to the end. And I don't know if you'll start seeing stipulations put on it like they do with NFL contracts, where you've got to play so many games.
Yeah.
If you get injured, it's you have like guaranteed NIL money, but I'm betting it starts to get a lot more complicated.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is too is just the competitiveness of the entire industry as a
mm-hmm.
whole. Like I was watching a little coaching thing that we do, and there was a parent and a coach at the TCU college like recruitment camp,
mm-hmm.
and they had 6 sessions and they were sold out. So there were 400 kids in each session.
Wow.
And it was just talking about like, look, this is the competition that you're going against.
Yeah.
And it's just like, man, that's wild. And even if you get to that point of being able to compete, like you're now competing against people who are 2, 3, 4, 5 years older than you
mm-hmm.
for that money.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's kind of crazy when
mm-hmm.
you think about it from that perspective. So I'm constantly losing things.
I saw what you have on here, and I feel real bad for you.
So I constantly misplace stuff. And I don't know. I've always been this way, so I can't even blame it on my age. But like, walk around, go to pay for something, can't find my wallet. And I'm like, dang it. If Clint was in my brain right now, he'd be like, if you put your stuff on your Apple Wallet.
I was about to ask if you'd done it.
No.
You still haven't done it?
I haven't done it. You have to show me afterwards how to do it.
It's super easy. I never, everywhere has it. And so
if it has that little Bluetooth thing from your card, right?
if you can tap to pay, you can use your phone.
So I go in and it's like,
And thankfully,
the
like,
place I went.
I've been so many places before. Last time it was Buc-ee's, and I left my wallet at home. If I'm out for, like, it's hard to explain. I feel like men are different. There are times when I get on my jeans and my belt and my
Right.
shoes and my shirt and I leave,
Right.
and I have my wallet. I got my keys. I got everything I need. There are times when I've got basketball shorts and a T-shirt on, and I'm like, I want to run down to Buc-ee's for a minute. And those are the times I'll leave without my wallet.
Yes,
Okay?
100%.
That's how that works. And so there's been, usually it is somewhere like Buc-ee's, and I'll be like, crap, I needed to go get gas because I'm leaving out early in the morning. And I just ran down here, but Buc-ee's has tap on the pump and on the inside. So,
well, I was at Dollar General, so I thought I left it there.
Hmm.
Well, I was with my son. We were in a hurry. I needed a card, and so I run in. I set my stuff down, go in, get it all done. Well, I leave the place that we were going to. It was like a graduation party, and I'm like, dang it, where is my wallet? Like, I just paid for that. I couldn't find it in the car, and now my wife's new car has all these little crevices that you can put your stuff in. I'm like, I didn't leave it in this one spot that I normally leave, so I'm like looking. So I asked my son, I'm like, hey, where's my wallet? He's like, I don't know, Dad. I don't know. So, because he was in the car with me.
Mhm.
So I go back to Dollar General, and I'm like, hey, did I happen to leave this here? And they're like, no, nobody's turned anything in. So I come back home. I'm like, dude, are you sure you didn't move it? He's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, my wallet. He was like, oh, yeah. I know exactly where it's at.
Oh my gosh.
He had put it, there's a little bitty like on the side of the chair that I didn't even know was there. He had put it in that little pocket right there for safekeeping.
Oh.
He's like, I want you to make sure it didn't lose it. I was like, well,
Every time I lose something, I
can't-
put it in a really safe place. Like that's how I lose stuff. Every time I'm trying to find something. I remember this year, the first time we were going out on the boat. I don't know where it is. There somewhere is the drain plug to the boat that we used last year, and it's in a really safe place wherever it is because that's a very important piece of hardware.
you don't want to sink.
And so on my way to take the boat out for the first time, I stopped at the little marine store we have down the street, and I was like, I need a drain plug. And dumb me, I'm looking over on the wall for stuff, and they're like, oh no, they have them up on the counter in, in one of those like little bins you just reach in. And I was like, how much are these things? They're like $4.99. I'm like, I'll take 4. Like I'm gonna have an extra one on the boat, extra one at the house, in my truck.
Yeah, because I constantly.
It can ruin your day.
Yes.
There are very few things that can keep you from going out on the boat.
That's one of them.
That is one of them.
And the boat key.
Yes, if you have that's again, like sometimes we take the boat out and we're like frazzled and everything. You're like, I don't know, I feel like we're forgetting something. I'm like, I got the key and I got the drain plug. Okay,
Everything else is go.
we got some water, like and honestly,
Does it
that
have gas?
honestly that you can buy on the water anyway. So
Right.
it's kind of like vacations. We used to stress a lot about packing, and we still
Oh,
we still
yeah,
make
yeah.
our checklist and all that kind of stuff and try to pack well. But at the end of the day, it's like we can buy it if we have to.
Well, I can remember
let's just go.
when I was a kid traveling with my parents, we used to drive to Wisconsin at least once a year, sometimes twice. Like we would literally pack everything. Like we weren't leaving once we got there.
Mhm.
And like I kind of was still in that mindset. And then like 2 or 3 years ago, we were going, I think, to Florida or something. And I'm fretting around, and Colby's like, "We'll just buy it. We'll just buy it when we get there. Like, what are you worried about?" I'm like, "Oh, I guess there is a Walmart in walking distance
Yeah,
of where we were staying. Most of the places we were staying, and I
that's
don't
the
know
thing.
why. I guess it's because when I was a kid, there weren't that many of those things.
yeah, that's the thing. But then it also does kind of suck because we did take off one time. I was going to a work conference that was at a water park, so I was bringing the wife and kids, and we left without the swim bag and no swimsuits.
Oh no.
So we could have gone to Walmart, but I was like, listen, we're stopping at Buc-ee's anyway.
Okay.
So we bought all the kids Buc-ee swimsuits, which are not cheap.
No,
Like,
I was sitting here
once
thinking.
once we started doing that, I was like, this is a horrible idea. Like, and you can't put them back now because the kids are super excited.
Exactly,
They're all
yeah,
getting Buc-ee
yeah,
swimsuits. I'm
yeah.
like, well, okay, we're just going to spend $200.
At least they're good quality. I
we'll
will say
spend
that.
$200 on swimsuits with a beaver's face on them. Yes. Winning at
I've never understood buying. Like, I guess because we live so close to one.
Mm-hmm.
But like, why would you want a folding chair with the Buc-ee's emblem on the back of it?
Status symbol.
That's true, because they are a lot more expensive.
They are, and you are a true Texan.
I have a Buc-ee sticker on mine.
They're dadgum pool noodles, for lack of a better word. I mean, really, they're lake noodles. Are like $40, but they got the beaver on them.
Yeah.
And there's people throwing them in the cart, grabbing their bag of ice, and taking them and going to the lake. And I'm like, man, Alvin, whatever your name is that owns Buc-ee's, you got it figured out, man.
Yeah.
He has raving fans for sure. Like people love Buc-ee's.
That's the only place I go buy gas.
I should
It's not even cheaper.
I should have put this in there, but there was where was it? It was a Colorado. They were going to put a Buc-ee's somewhere. I should have put this on the run sheet because it's a good story. And there's a group of people that basically like made a big fuss and like made a big enough fuss to keep it from coming to town.
Why?
And the mayor of the town called them terrorists. I want to Google this real quick. You should talk about
Wait.
something.
Called Bucky's Terrace?
No,
Or
the people who.
Okay, so I don't know how much you know about this local one that we have here. There was a disagreement between two cities in this area because Bucky's was actually going to be further down the highway, a little closer to the bigger town. And they weren't willing, the town that they were going to go to wasn't willing to give them as big of a tax break for as many years as they wanted. And
No, keep saying.
Okay, the city that they're actually in now gave them plus 1 year.
Oh, wow.
To keep the negotiation open.
And it worked out.
Oh, heck yeah. I can't
imagine.
imagine.
That's, oh man.
I wonder what their profits are just on like merchandise alone.
Not only that, but just think about the cut of sales tax that the city gets, right?
I mean, once that is it what, 3 to 5 years, I would imagine, something like that. Sometimes it's longer, but
yeah,
I can't imagine. And when that,
but once that spigot turns on,
oh man, you can.
That's some revenue.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking hundreds of millions of dollars.
So this was Palmer Lake, Colorado. It was a land annexation for a Buc-ee's store. So the mayor, the people were against it. Okay, some people were against it, right? Didn't want Buc-ee's coming into their town, whatever. So he called them terrorists and losers, according to local media reports and text messages included in a lawsuit. Glant, I'm reading on the fly here, so I'm gonna try to skim. Glant Havenar, who resigned, he just quit, from serving as the town's mayor this midweek, used the insults when talking about people opposed to the project in text exchanges with a friend. That's not a good friend. Thursday, citing court documents. Okay, so he texted his friend saying,
and Palmer Lake is like right on 25.
Okay, going north out of New Mexico?
Yes.
Yeah. Dude, they would do some business.
And it comes in kind of like there's like a 2 state highways that interconnect right there.
Yeah.
And it's right near the Air Force Academy. Holy cow. These people, I kind of agree with him.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know. I just saw the headline, right? And I kept scrolling. And I was like, that's unfortunate. But he shouldn't call people that. I did not realize he called people that while he's texting his friend. And either his friend or somebody who saw those texts turned him in and gave it to the news. And now he's like not the mayor anymore.
Okay, 2 things. And then I have a text friend conversation. So this is between Colorado Springs and Denver. So going north out of Colorado Springs.
Okay.
So there's not a whole lot.
So pretty far north into Colorado.
Yes, but it's a perfect, like it's like a halfway between Denver and Colorado Springs.
Man, we could have used that next year because like either next year or the year after, we're going to go up and do Yosemite and
I want to do that so
Mount
bad.
Rushmore and all that. And we've planned this trip and like that's the way to go.
Yes.
Is up through, because if you want to go
I've driven that.
If you want to go up through the Kansas and Nebraska, there's nothing there.
Nothing to look at.
So you might as well go up the Colorado way and through like Cheyenne, Wyoming, and do like Frontier Days and stuff like that.
That's a great trip, dude.
Both ways.
I've done it.
So that's on the list of trips to do. And if that Buc-ee's was there, man, we could have had some Buc-ee's outside of Texas.
Yeah, this is a bad business deal for that town.
I wonder, though, I didn't read if it's actually not going to happen. It's just some citizens opposed it, and he called them terrorists and losers. I don't know if the deal actually didn't go through, so let me look at this.
Well, okay, I'm going to talk about your friend text message groups. There should be like some kind of law or rule that never gets shared. Like you can't share this.
It's bro code.
It is definitely bro code. You can't ever be friends with that guy again.
I don't care. Like any friend tells me anything, it is staying with me unless they tell me they're going to go hurt somebody. And then like,
then it's context.
It's context. That's our PC word we're going to use on the podcast.
That's right. It's all about context.
After that, it's context.
Well,
that's just they really don't want this Buc-ee's. They're idiots. I'm calling them idiots on the podcast. They're not going to hear it, but who cares? They even had an effort to recall some of the members of the town's board of trustees was launched earlier this year related to how a meeting late last year about the Buc-ee's annexation was handled. They do not want to, like, you don't understand, people. Buc-ee's is amazing. You would love a Buc-ee's.
By the way, we are not sponsored by Buc-ee's.
We're not. I think I've worn a Buc-ee's shirt on the pod before. But here's the thing: so many people oppose Buc-ee's because they're like, we don't want 18-wheelers in here.
But they don't allow
They
it.
don't allow it.
They don't allow it, and you can't even park on the road and walk in. They were towing a guy up here
Yeah.
when that church gets built right there.
Oh my gosh, dude!
When the service is over.
Please finish the roads first.
Okay, I've heard that that's the plan.
I hope
That they're
so.
not going to be allowed to open that facility until the roads are done.
We live very close, for the people who are in our area, very close to a big mega church. It definitely qualifies as a mega church, and
100%.
they're putting in a satellite right next to where the Buc-ee's is in our town.
Right next door. They're going to share parking space. Like you may have to park in the Buc-ee's parking lot to walk to the service. Yeah, Palmer Lake, Colorado. You're missing out, bud. And I don't really condone calling people terrorists, but it's a bad business decision for you. And it's clean,
This mayor said releasing the private text messages was not the right thing to do. I agree. But then not all of them were true.
Wait.
It's a text message.
Context. The
site where the Buc-ee's could potentially go in the area is located near Interstate 25, according to 9 News. Buc-ee's has over 50 locations across the country as of May. I wouldn't say across the country, y'all.
Across the South.
They have 50 locations, and a lot of them are in Texas, but yeah.
Well, just going to Waco, we passed 3.
Yeah.
Ours, and there's one Hillsboro. Well, I guess we go a little bit
Terrell
further.
first.
Yeah. Well, we didn't go through Terrell, but
So
sometimes,
sometimes when I leave and I have to go down south, I will, because I don't want to backtrack.
Yeah.
Because it's going to sound stupid, but the Buc-ee's is literally 2 exits away from me. But still, that's backtracking.
Yeah, that could be 20 minutes, though.
That could be. So I'll go the Terrell way, so I stop there.
Yep.
And then you do have the one, but if we get to Hillsboro, if you go down 45, you've got NS
Yep.
also now too.
Man. They're all over the place.
We have this rule when we go on road trips, we can never pass a Buc-ee's
and not stop.
But now
It's a fair rule.
That used to be a good rule, but now there's so many of them. I'm like, y'all, like you haven't finished your drink from the last Buc-ee's. And here's
well,
another.
it's a great, and this is the thing that is missed by people. If you don't travel by car and have children, like it's the perfect space. One, there's plenty of light if you're stopping at night.
I do love like getting gas there, especially if it is late at night.
Yeah.
Like I normally fill up my daughter's car for her.
Yeah.
But if I'm not doing it, she goes to Buc-ee's.
Correct.
It's right by the high school where she goes to school. That is the only place. I caught her one time in Rockwall, next town over, like late at night at some dang QT getting gas. And I was like, you know the rules. She's like, well, I'm like, listen, you got to plan ahead.
Yeah.
I know one place where you can stop. And that's not it.
Well, and they have cameras and it's well monitored and the workers are constantly walking the parking lots. You have a sense of security while you're walking in and out of that place.
Yeah, it's crowded.
And the bathrooms are massive.
Yes.
And
immaculate.
As we talked about in like episode 2, the urinal space is perfect.
It is perfect.
Because there's walls on both sides of you. You don't have to worry about it.
And they're good and spaced out.
Yes.
You know.
You don't have to worry about, and if you have to have a little one, like I have my son, I was going to say something, but I left it off. I'll go in sometimes. Well, if you go into the stall and you're in the stall.
It's a room.
It's a room.
If you've never been to a Buc-ee's bathroom, the stalls are like with rooms with like doors. Like they're not. You can't even call it a stall. They have toilet rooms.
Now they have lights over it if it's open. You flip the switch, and not a switch that when you lock it, the light turns red, so it's been occupied. It's genius.
It is genius.
You don't have to knock on the door.
It's heaven on earth. I love Buc-ee's, but I did not break your urinal rule the other day, bro code urinal rule, because I thought about you. But I was at the airport. Okay.
Wait, we said airports are rules exceptions to the rule.
Sure, but still, and it was the whole line of regular height urinals, and then there was 2 on the end unoccupied. A regular height next to a dude and a whole line of dudes, doing their business, and then there was the short one. And I left a space and went to the short one.
Okay, this happened to me because I had to. There's a guy.
If you have the opportunity,
go wait.
Leave a space
because there's a dad going to come in there with their son, and they are going to need that.
Yeah,
that happened to me over the weekend. Going down, didn't stop at the Buc-ee's. We stopped in West at the little kolache place.
I like the other one across the street now.
That's where we stopped.
Yeah, I never go to the old one anymore.
It's too hard to get into.
It is. I
think they own both of them.
Oh, really?
I think so.
That makes me feel better because I feel bad not supporting the original. But at
Okay,
the same
fun
time.
fact. You know the hotel that's behind that one?
Mhm.
There's a hotel. It's kind of
Yeah.
off the beaten path. That was built because of George W. Bush.
Huh.
Because the Secret Service could get in and out of Dallas, and they would stay there.
Huh.
And so occasionally, especially if he was in Crawford at
Oh,
his
for
ranch,
Crawford, yeah.
he would stay. This Secret Service would have two locations. They would stay there, and then there's another hotel that's built very similar in Crawford or in McGregor, I think.
Mhm.
And those two hotels were built specifically for the Secret Service, so that they could be stationed there and be within earshot of the president.
The more you know.
Yeah. So while we're talking about presidents, do you have a problem with the military parade that's
I
going to
like
happen? I do too.
Listen,
I'm kind of pumped about it.
I feel like military parades, the way you should feel about them depends on who's putting them on. You know?
Yes.
And I'm not one of these idiots who's going to go out there and like complain about the United States military. Like now, if it's North Korea,
Yeah.
Shooting their not shooting, but like moving their like missiles and goose stepping down the main. Like, yeah, I don't like that because it's North Korea.
Right.
But I like it when the U.S. does it. I'm going to watch.
I'm going to be tuned in.
Yeah.
Because it's what the bicentennial 250 year.
It's
celebration.
It's on Flag Day, right? The 14th.
Yeah, something like that.
Well, dadgum, we're flying to Jamaica that day.
No, it's a little further than that. It's like 3 weeks.
Is it the 16th?
I thought it was around the July 4th.
I think you're right.
I think it's around July 4th. And it may not be until next.
We're a horrible podcast. We don't know that.
Yeah, we should know. I looked today and then I forgot the date right now as we're talking about it because I didn't write it down.
Yeah, I'll watch it.
I'll be tuned in.
Whenever it is.
I'll be tuned in. Have you ever actually been on a military base and seen like when they have the rows of tanks and more tanks?
Not tanks. I've been on a couple Air Force bases.
Okay, so when I was a kid, we got to tour
and a Navy base.
I've been to both. Well, I've been to all three. When I was a kid, we got to tour Fort Hood. Had a family member that worked there, and for some reason, she had to go in that day, and we went in, and I just remember thinking more people should see this.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was probably like high school age, and we're driving, and we drove for what seemed like 10 minutes, and it was just military equipment as far as you could see. And I mean, Fort Hood base is huge; it's massive.
It's a big one, yeah.
And there were just so much that it was even hard for you to comprehend just how much was actually there.
I went to Russia in college.
Okay, hold on. You mentioned that the other day.
Yeah.
The last couple episodes. And I was like, man, I didn't ask about that. Yeah, because we were talking about traveling out of the country or something. You were like, yeah, I went to Russia. I was like,
I went to Russia in 2006 after I graduated from college. And
any specific reason it was Russia?
I wanted to go. Like it was for school.
Oh, okay.
So I had to go for school, and several places you could go, but I wanted to go there. And one of the cool things about there, we worked at an orphanage, good like a train ride, like an overnight train ride outside of Moscow, and it was an old camp that Stalin had built. Right? He's not out there swinging a hammer, although hammer is kind of his thing, right? Hammers.
Great joke. That was a great joke.
So, and a sickle, but so Stalin had it built for boys. Like when you came into adolescence, like maybe 12, 13, 14 years old, these boys would be sent to these camps and be trained in how great and wonderful Russia was. And like a lot of them would go into the military, but not all of them did. But the ones that did, and even the ones that didn't, that just went into the workforce, loved Russia and everything about Russia because they spent time at these camps.
Right.
And so the camp was now used as an orphanage, but they had a ton of military equipment out there. So you drive down the big drive to get to the camp, and there, there's a MiG-25, like a Foxbat sitting there. There's tanks. There's, Soviet tanks there. There's all these military type of vehicles and aircraft that like just would make a young Russian kid be like, yeah, look how awesome we are. Look what we got. We got tanks. We got bombers. We got fighter jets, And so, like, I can see if you see Russia doing that, you're like, I don't like it. But do you not want Americans to have pride in their military? Are we not thankful for our military? Yes, we are.
We are.
And, like, so a parade, I think the reason it gets so much pushback, and again, it's getting pushback almost exclusively from liberals and Democrats, right? Because Trump is doing it, so whatever he does, they're not going to like. But I think the reason it gets that pushback is because most of the time, the people you see doing parades that we see are bad actors. But, gosh, what is his name? He was on Bill Maher. He's British. What is his? Oh, I cannot think of who it is. Oh, no, it's Piers Morgan. Piers Morgan was on Bill Maher, and Bill Maher asked him, like, the topic came up. And so the American guy was like, yeah, he's just stupid. We shouldn't be doing this. We shouldn't be out here parading our military around. And Piers Morgan's like, we do this all the time in the UK.
All the time.
All the time. Like, and so here's Piers Morgan, who is he's definitely liberal, right? Saying, I have zero issue with this. They do this all the time in the UK. There's nothing wrong with it. I think it's just your perspective. A lot of people's perspective is like they see the North Koreans and Russians like goose stepping down the street with their stuff.
Okay, you're right.
It's a bad thing.
June 14th.
This year?
Flag Day.
This year?
Yes.
Oh, it's coming up.
Yeah.
It's a week away.
Yeah. So if you had to guess, when do you think the last military parade was?
Was it VE Day or VJ Day?
New York City Victory Parade, 1946, was one. That we've only had two in the 20th century, and then the other one was in 1991, after the end of Desert Storm.
Oh, see, okay.
National Victory Celebration to commemorate the end of the Gulf War. That explains why I've never seen one.
And I guess you had, of course, the World War II victory, but between that and Desert Storm, we didn't win.
We haven't
a war.
Mm-mm.
Like conflicts and things like that, and bowed out of Korea, Vietnam, but
Afghanistan. You got to add that.
That was after 91.
But I'm saying like that we've bowed out of.
Yeah,
military.
Well, I mean, W did land on a carrier deck.
Yeah, but
that's not a parade.
That's not a parade. I just think that we need this sense, and this is going to lead into the next topic on the list. Well, we're going to skip one and we'll come back to it. We need this sense of pride in our country. I don't want to call it an ism because then that puts a negative connotation, because that's not what I mean. But like we've at some point in the last 30 years, we've lost this pride of it being an American.
Sure.
It's kind of dissipated a little bit.
That's what I mean. Like,
and I don't know. This is a good step. I think that you're going to see something that a lot of people, anybody under the age of 40, really, because I wouldn't remember one from 1991, and it was only 8,000 people.
It's one of those things where it's too easy for people to lose perspective on how important it is.
Yes.
Like, people, I think, look out at our military and may think, well, I mean, when do we ever need them? Like, it's not useful, right? Yeah, but because we have it is the reason you don't see more conflicts.
Correct.
But then when something happens and our country needs to be protected, like, you want to see that happening.
Well, and I think if something is happening in our country, it's shed in a negative light. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Like what's going on in LA right now. Mm-hmm. Like, we'll talk about that in just a second. But did you listen to the Kash Patel JRE? He talked about the initiatives from Biden a lot. He talked about it a lot. He never really had a negative light on anyone except for the former FBI director, who have just smeared him all over the place. But I listened to the whole thing. It's only like an hour and 40 minutes, which is a short JRE episode. But he covered a lot of things in there. One of them he talked about was like how the entire Biden administration was only focused on climate change and DEI. He said in every aspect of governing, that's all they focused on. And he said, so when you look at it from that perspective, we had 4 years of that's all that they focused on. And like, as I'm sitting there processing what he's saying, and I'm working in the yard, and I kind of stopped. I literally stopped what I was doing so I could think about this for a second. I'm sure I looked wildly crazy out there as I'm like standing in the shade, like just staring off into the sun.
Uh-huh.
But it's like, he's right.
Yeah.
Like, every single thing that I can think of that has happened over the last 4 years, that was the reason why.
Mm-hmm.
from immigration to social issues to everything.
Yeah.
That was the agenda.
You could tie it back
And
to
that is absolutely bonkers.
Yes, to be running the most powerful country in the world that's your priority.
And to put an ism to it, that is wokeism.
Yeah.
And that was the agenda. And from every single aspect of what the administration did, that's what it points back to.
Yeah. And just everything had to first pass through that litmus test, pass through that filter of this is the first thing we're going to care about before we do anything else. But no, I need to listen to that one. I haven't listened
Yeah,
to it.
it's a good one. And then they kind of talk a little bit about Elon while it's on there. But I want to put a bow on this. I'm very excited about this.
Yeah.
I will make sure all 3 of my children are sitting and watching this.
Yeah.
And it's not like I'm going to be like, open your eyes, make sure you're, you know what I'm, not in that aspect, but it will be on the TV and we will be tuned in.
Listen, it is a good thing to be proud of. It is a good thing to be proud that we have a good military. Like, it is a good thing to be proud of that there are people all over this country who build those tanks and build those planes and have those jobs and people who serve in our military. That is a good thing. My kids love my father-in-law was in Desert Storm and, was in a tank, and they love that aspect of it. And every time they see somebody in the Army, they say, thank you for your service.
Right.
And, they always ask me, the little ones do, because they're does that person know Grandpa?
Because in their mind, everybody knows everybody. Right.
Well, that, he's like, he was in the Army too. How come he doesn't know Grandpa? I'm like, well, there's a lot of people in the Army, which is a good thing, right?
Yeah.
And so that is a good thing to be proud of.
Right.
I get it, but I don't. I get their opposition to it, but at the end of the day, I'm like, what are you doing?
Right.
Like, what do you not like about this? What are you not proud of?
You know the answer to that.
Yeah.
It's because Trump's doing it.
Yeah.
So let's talk
But
a
even
little.
that, but I think even before Trump, you have your good swath of liberals. I'm not going to say Democrats. I'm just going to say liberals who are anti-military. That's not something new.
Yeah.
You
No,
know?
yeah, for sure. I agree with you.
And I get Vietnam era stuff, and that can rub some people the wrong way and push them in that direction. There was certainly plenty of that, and there were probably more anti-military people during that time than they've ever had before.
Yeah.
It was definitely not a Rosie the Riveter, roll up your sleeves and let's go send our boys off.
Absolutely not.
You definitely didn't have that. And those are the two ends of the spectrum. But man, if I'm picking one end of the spectrum I want to be on, I'm with Rosie the Riveter. That is our boys went off to war and our women went to the factories to build bombers.
Yeah.
You just look at, I wish I had the numbers just right offhand, but the number of planes, ships, tanks that we built during that time frame. And I am proud of that. I'm proud of those people. I'm proud that I have family that did that. The people who are not, I just really like to have a conversation with them and say, let's just think through this. What are you actually opposed to here?
So just a quick cursory Google search: 300,000 aircraft.
Oh my gosh.
200. I'm rounding up, by the way. 297.
Okay.
193 artillery pieces, 86,000 tanks, and over 2 million Army trucks were built during World War II.
Mm-hmm.
Sources: Ken Burns PBS documentary.
Yeah.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
And I am predisposed to it. I love, my favorite genre of movie is military movies. It's the one I'm going to watch the most. It's the one. It's my favorite movie of all time is The Hunt for Red October. So I like military movies, which they did not do a remake of, by the way.
Yeah, I was wrong about that. Sorry.
Correction. We're correcting it
Yeah.
10 podcast episodes later.
I think we actually did. I did correct myself.
yeah,
You said
no.
it was something else.
Yeah, we looked it up.
My one of my favorite is Band of Brothers. They've been running a thing. I'll always tune into that every time it's on.
Yeah.
It's hard to just sit down and watch because it's very, very heavy, but I'll tune in. I actually watched some of it last night. I think it was episode 7. That leads us into LA. Speaking of military, as of today, June the 8th, it appears that Governor Newsom is not Governor Newsom.
Governor Gaviner.
Yeah, Governor Gaviner. We could call him that.
Governor Gaviner Newscum.
There you go. Newscum.
There's
Um,
Trump's.
has denied them using the National Guard,
Which he's
in
going to
California.
do.
He's going to do.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that Kash Patel talked about January 6th
Mm-hmm.
is that, they had Pelosi and the government had the opportunity to use that and they didn't. So kind of a cursory look. This is still very new, all this information that's kind of coming out, and it's kind of hard to decipher, but it seems like, at least in my algorithm, there's a lot of people who are not supportive of these riots and protests. And it's like the biggest news thing that I saw was the guy who was trying to like push back against the military vehicle. It was like one of those storm, like a Humvee type.
Yeah, like armored vehicle.
And he's trying to like stop it. Like, first off, you idiot, don't do that. Second off, you're not going to stop him. Like, you're not going to stop that vehicle. And he ended up dying from it because he got pushed over, or he tripped as he was trying to backpedal and hit his head.
Yeah, and I hate the comparisons. Like, people on the socials and whatnot are comparing that to Tiananmen Square.
Oh,
And I'm like, y'all, like you
same.
are complete idiots. Like you're either just hawking an agenda or you're actually stupid. There's only one of those two options, because comparing that to protesters protesting communism in China, which Governor of Minnesota Waltz was not actually there for, even though he said he was there.
Yes, I remember.
Man, I forgot all about that guy until just then. And I'm kind of glad I did.
It's okay. So during the COVID riots, I could never wrap my brain around that. Now, I had two experiences that I just thought, this doesn't feel right. Okay. The first one is when my son was having surgery. It was right during the whole shebang of that was happening in downtown Dallas.
Yeah.
So son has surgery. The ICU room has a very large window because they want him to have lots of sunlight in there if they can, but it's nighttime. There was a massive one going on. This was on a Friday night into Saturday morning. There was a massive protest going on in downtown Dallas. And we can literally see from our room all of the gas, all of the things going on. During his surgery, there was a protest that went right in front of the children's hospital. They blocked 4 ambulances from getting into the base. Now, it wasn't for long. The police, were able to kind of hold it off so the ambulance could get in, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It was 20 to 30 seconds that they were delayed getting a child into the hospital. Like, that's a whole other conversation in itself. But it's like, my other experience was our local town held one. And I was just like, man, I just don't. If you are from this area, you know that there's been lots of racial disparity in this area of the country. This is not the way to bring it together. Now, we're, 3 to 5 years removed from that now.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of change that has happened. Most of it I've agreed with.
Yeah.
But this is literally, you're protecting people who aren't supposed to be here. That's one of the things that Kash Patel talked about, was like, okay, yeah, we let 9 million people in. So if you just say 1% of that is bad, is evil, is part of a terrorist group, that's a lot of people still.
Yeah. And I've seen numbers higher than 9 million that are acknowledged and agreed to by Democrats who are in the Biden administration, saying it was more like 12.
Right. I think he said 9 in the podcast.
And then these are Democrats saying 12 million people, which is ridiculous.
And like, hold on, I'll look up that number.
I was surprised when those happened, because
that's 90,000 people.
Yeah. I was walking, and it's kind of one of those things, like you see it on the news, but then when you see it in real life,
person.
yeah. And so we were walking and down a normal street that we would walk to, we go into a restaurant, and all the glass on the first floor is all boarded up.
Yep.
And I was like, oh yeah. And it wasn't like they had boarded up ahead of time to protect it. The busted glass was still on the sidewalk.
On the ground. Yep.
Yeah. And it was like, okay, that was right here.
Right.
And this was a while after that.
Yeah.
But
And
just hadn't been fixed yet.
well, and the other thing is too, is it feels like LA is like, they spray painted over the Kobe and Gigi mural that like has been basically a memorial to them.
Right,
like people will travel to LA to see that, and you're disgracing that piece of
for
art.
what?
And like
For what?
to protect people who aren't supposed to be here.
Right. Yeah.
And that's the thing that I'm struggling with. Like the ones that happened in 2020 and 2021, I didn't necessarily always agree with it, but I at least understood it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There was a fault in the system. What happened should not have happened. And now you're trying to seek justice for it.
Yeah.
Okay. I get it. I can at least, I may not agree with everything, but I can at least wrap my brain around it. I
Yep.
can't wrap my brain around this at all.
Yeah.
Like you're cutting off highways and then that's not in your waving flags of countries that aren't American.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Mm-hmm.
For what? To
Mhm.
protect someone that is here illegally?
Mm-hmm.
I just think that these raids are justified, and it's the agenda. It's just like what we talked about with Biden's agenda. This is Trump's agenda. This is part of Trump's agenda.
Part of what put him in the White House.
Exactly, and the silent majority want this.
Yes.
Now, you can talk about how they're going about it, and maybe there's different ways that they could do it. I'm open for conversation about
Mhm.
that, but this is the way they're choosing to do it.
Yeah.
And you can't stop them.
And again, I was thinking about this the other day, talking to someone, and like we were on the subject of so many things that you hear Trump saying and doing were in line with what Obama and Clinton said and did. Like Obama and Clinton deported illegal immigrants who weren't supposed to be in the country. Many of the things that Trump is talking about, they talked about cutting spending. You talked about how Clinton cut the government workforce by 250,000 people. Like we've talked about all those things. Like Biden is the outlier
Right.
in the timeline.
Correct.
Trump, yes, he is doing things more with a more conservative and more Republican type bent because that's what he is and that's how he was elected. But he is not way out of line with what Obama and what Clinton did.
Right.
Biden is the one who is the outlier,
Right.
who went crazy. And like, just watch the clips of Hillary Clinton when she was running.
Yeah.
The thing she was saying about immigration.
Right.
Like that is what the leaders of our country have said, except for when Biden was in office for those 4 years.
Well, and
So this is more of even a return. You could make a case that this is more of a return to normalcy of Clinton and Obama
yeah,
than it is Trump doing something no one's ever done before.
correct. Well, and it goes
Perspective is important.
it
History
goes
is important.
back to the whole manosphere thing that the Democrats are trying to figure out. You literally have a president in office right now that is more aligned with the 90s, early 2000s Democrat.
Yes.
That's your problem.
Yeah.
Like you've alienated, I wrote some people down. You alienated all blue collar workers.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the hardworking, boots on the ground people that are going to actually vote.
They're the president of the Teamsters talking at the Republican National Convention.
You have police unions, fire
Yes.
unions, the military.
Yeah.
Like those are just three that just off the top of my head. And then I wrote the universities.
Mhm.
So they really went heavy into the universities. The problem is that I've spent a lot of time on a university. I have multiple degrees. You and I both have spent some time there. Like a lot of times those ideas that are thrown around are meant to stay there so you can think through exactly how you personally feel.
Mhm.
Now, have they gone way too far left in most cases? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But like I can remember literally a professor, a government and economics professor. He's a super smart guy. I really enjoyed his class. He taught the entire class about Marxism, and he presented both sides of it. He was extremely far left in his ideas and agendas, and he was very upfront about that. Like, here's what I think.
Mhm.
But my job is to present this to you and for you to think through the process. And this is what we're going to do. This is how we manage it. And there were times where I was like, I can see where that could work. But like, then when you look through the whole, everything that you're trying to look at,
Yeah.
you're like, okay, now I understand why this doesn't. Okay. And so it was very interesting to me that the Democrats really pushed the university ivory tower concept, but those people don't typically vote.
Mhm.
And there's not a lot of them in as far as like voting numbers. And then they're going after podcasters. Well, like, so the other thing, I can't remember if it was Bill Maher, it was a Bill Maher type who was literally like, you had Joe Rogan in your pocket.
Mm-hmm.
You had Andrew Schultz in your pocket, and you chose not to reach out to them.
Yep.
You declined it, in fact. And now you had Trump on during the election. You had Kash Patel on this weekend. You had the vice president of the United States talking with Theo Vaughn this week in Kid Rock's restaurant.
Yeah.
Think about that. Like the vice president of the United States is hosting a podcast or having a podcast.
Let's go back 10 years and tell me that's going to happen.
No way. No way. And so it's like, it's one of those things where you literally had it and you lost it and you chose not to do it. And even Rogan has come out in the last couple of weeks on, like, you have to listen all the way through a lot of times to catch some of the things. He's like, yeah, I don't really agree with that. Like what they're doing, I don't agree with that. That doesn't fit who I am, which is why he said, like, I'm not Republican or Democrat. I'm somewhere in between.
But even the people who are like Rogan and who are independent thinkers and who see the world through their lens and make their own decisions, they don't let a party or a president tell them how to think. That's definitely Rogan. But those people look so Republican right now because the Democrats are so off base with like reality.
Yes.
And so you look at those people and you're like, oh, Rogan's just in Trump's pocket and he's like, a Republican. No, he's not. But it's just, the Democrats are so far out there in left field, literally, that
try not to let this go to any waste at all, by the way. See how small that is?
You're gonna need your toothpick.
Yeah. Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off.
That you can't, like, everyone that makes any sense and has any logic whatsoever looks Republican.
Right.
And looks to the right now. But just because the Democrats have gone so far left, the majority of the country is to the right of where the Democrats are right now.
And it's almost like, too, I don't even like using right or left. I just like thinking of like center. Like most people are within 1 or 2 points of center. Yeah. Sometimes you're left, sometimes you're right.
Yeah.
But when you when that center line moves just a little bit more to the left, because we've talked about this too. Like Trump is a little more left than he is right. You're going to draw those people in. And then also when you alienate the group that I just talked about, military, fire, police, union workers, the steel manufacturers, the automakers, when you alienate those groups that on the surface, there's not a whole lot of them, right? But then when you alienate all of them at the same time, then you lose that manosphere that they're trying to find.
Yeah.
And right now they don't have it.
No. And like we talked about, they've got no one out there. They've got no one in the stable to come step up. No one's in the bullpen warming up that I can see.
No. But kind of wrapping up the whole LA riots thing, they're trying to compare this to the 1992, I think it was 92, race riots
91.
that happened, 91 race riots that happened in LA at the
Rodney
time.
King.
Yeah. And this is not that.
No.
This is not that. I think it'll fester out. Like people got to go to work tomorrow. And those that aren't at work are probably not working legal jobs anyway, so they're going to find them anyways. I think it's not going to be like what happened in 2020 and 2021. But those raids are going to continue to happen.
Right.
So they may tamper with a little bit of pushback, but would be very shocked if you don't see a lot of those people get arrested. Because they're going to catch them. I mean, it's and that's the thing too, like a lot of people fail to remember that there are cameras everywhere now. They're everywhere. You can't go anywhere without there being one. Oh, man, that gets me worked
Speaking
up.
of Rogan, one of the funniest memes I saw, and we can talk about this next topic, is the memes have been great about Trump and Elon going at it. And one of them said, who gets custody of Joe Rogan?
My brother sent me a TikTok, and it was the one where it's Dumb and Dumber, and they're in counseling, and Rogan's face is on the counselor, and one of them is Harry, and one of them is Lloyd. It's hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious. Because it's like, I don't want to be conspiracy theorist, but I want to toss this at you. You and I haven't talked about this at all. But it seems kind of like this bill is not really going over as planned.
I think it'll pass, no problem.
I think it will, but it's not going over as smoothly as I think everybody thought it would, especially for those. You and I both are agreeing in that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what we forget too is Elon is not a politician.
Mm-mm.
He doesn't understand. I mean, he does understand. I don't want to. I don't want people to think I think he's dumb, because he is way smarter than me. But he has to understand that there's a lot more at play than just cutting the budget.
He's one voice. Like
Yeah.
here's where I come down on all of it. He has one voice, and if this proves anything, it proves that he's genuine.
Yeah,
The stuff
100%.
the stuff at Doge, he meant it. Like he wasn't there just whatever. Like he actually believes in this stuff, and so a bill that's going to add trillions to the debt, he's not going to be in favor of.
Right.
Like so at least that means he is genuine. He genuinely believes this stuff. He genuinely believes in cutting and making things more efficient and cutting the deficit, and that our country is facing down the barrel of a big problem if we don't stop spending. But here's the thing. We talked about this a couple podcasts ago, or maybe on the last one. You cannot, the deficit and the debt is not going to be fixed with Doge cuts.
Right.
The only way you can fix that is to fix entitlements.
Right.
You've got to fix welfare. There's way too much money going out. The two biggest things we spend money on is entitlements, welfare, and the interest on our debt that's from entitlements and welfare.
Right.
Like, you can't come in, like, it's simple math.
Right.
You cannot keep spending that much money and then cut the revenue with tax cuts that's coming in the door. I think it's absolutely necessary. I think the cuts do need to be passed, and there will be a reciprocal benefit to it, because if you cut taxes on business, they're going to make more money, and they're going to actually pay more in taxes, because they're going to increase their output.
Right.
But the real fix has to be entitlements. You've got to fix Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. And like I said, I didn't know if this was going to be the administration to do it. If this isn't the administration to do it, then no one's going to do it until the whole thing collapses and it has to be fixed.
Right.
I
fear that's what's going to happen.
If this administration doesn't fix it, then you consider the can has been kicked down the road, and our country will come into some serious economic trouble, to where at that point it has to. That's why I tell people, and I'm not joking when I say this, I do not think I will ever see a dime of the Social Security money I paid in.
Oh, for sure.
I am just over 20 years away from when I could start pulling that. And I think in that amount of time, this thing will collapse. I will not see a dime of the money I've ever paid in Social Security. I'm not banking on getting any of it.
Yeah.
Ever.
Well, I won't get any of it anyways.
Yeah. Teachers pay a separate thing.
I just think too, like, and you're seeing the entitlement checks lessen. I don't know how much time you spend on social media, and it's summertime, so I spend way too much time on it. But like, you see these people on the socials complaining how their SNAP check was cut, and how they're not getting what they used to get. And I think the problem is, and we talked about this, I don't know, episode 2, 3, or 4 ago, about like how we have generational people, like literally live on government checks
Right.
for their entire life.
Yeah.
That has to be fixed.
And a whole population of people hiding income to be able to receive it.
Correct.
I was counseling somebody, and I don't know this person. I was just helping out. Friend of a friend of a friend, daughter's cousin, lived on the road, kind of thing. And their question to me as a CPA was, my grandparents, that was actually their parents, but their parents were grandparents' age, are not going to be able to get Medicaid because they like sold their property and had too much in assets.
Right.
So how do we fix that? I'm like, that's fraud. Like,
Yeah.
they're like, can I put this in my name? I'm like, no.
It has to be done, what, 2 years, 3
No,
years?
so many years before that. And
5
even
years.
if you do that to hide assets, they're still going to find it, and it's
Right.
still fraud.
Right.
Like that, like what we're talking about, making government more efficient. It's so interesting to me because these people are so deep red MAGA that were
Right.
asking me this question. And I'm like, you're sitting here like saying, yeah, Trump, yay, Doge cuts, let's get more efficient, let's stop this government waste. And you're trying to make the government waste money because these people you're talking about that you want to be able to get Medicaid, and I get it. So their nursing home is paid for.
Right.
can't get it because they have the money sitting in the stinking bank to pay for their own dang nursing home right now. But you don't want them to pay for it with that money because you want that to pass to you whenever they pass away.
Correct.
Like,
Correct.
Okay, I understand your entire premise there. You just need to understand that's fraud. And you have the money to pay for it, and you're asking the government to pay for it instead.
Right. Well, and I think we've just...
It's like everybody is super Doge, Cuddy, and MAGA until it affects you.
Yeah.
Then when it starts,
for sure,
then when it starts affecting you, you're like, oh no, I can't have this. Like, no, let's be consistent.
And that's hard.
Yeah.
It's so hard because it's like, man, I was really counting on that.
Yeah.
And you can't.
Yeah.
That was something that I learned.
And that's why I said, you know what? If you had been talking to me years ago, I would have said by the time they get to age 55 and 60, like long-term care insurance is a thing and it's something you should have.
Yeah.
Because it is affordable, especially when you start buying it at that age, and it really comes in handy to pay for this stuff when you get there to protect your nest egg so you do have something to pass on.
So all four of my grandparents purchased it very young, relatively young.
Yeah.
And one of them actually had a policy that was full coverage through the company that she worked for. And so it was like, that came in so handy.
Yeah.
Because it covered everything. Because it's like, you're going to need that. And that's the way that I'm going to approach it.
Yeah.
And I also think it goes back to what we talked about on the last podcast with generational housing.
Yeah.
I think that is going to be one of the ways that this is fixed. But you have to make it to where it's affordable to have.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have these generational houses. And it's just like what we talked about. I know I kind of tongue-in-cheeked you when we talked about it the other day. Like, you're like, I want them all out. I'm like, heck, I want all mine to stay. But I think that is going to be the way where grandpa and grandma stay upstairs, and you have to help take care of them.
And here's the thing. Like, we talked about this when we talked about if on our fun podcast about if FDR ruined our country with the New Deal. Or not FDR, I'll say because I can't, because FDR is a great president. So did the New Deal ruin our country? Like, when you start telling people no, you're not getting these benefits anymore. You have a different way. That's when like the generational housing and things will happen because people got to figure it out.
Right.
It's like, okay, well, we, don't have the money or whatever. We don't want to spend it. So like, I can either take all of mom and dad's nest egg and spend all of it on the nursing home, or they can move in with us because they don't have severe medical needs and they can live with us and like we can help out. And then that's when you can make those choices and have the freedom, because we're Americans, to make that choice on your own instead of saying, no, I'm ready for my government handout. And here's what I hate hearing from people, especially call themselves conservative, is when they get to that point, whenever I'm explaining to them, no, that's fraud. And that's why the government shouldn't help you pay for that whenever you have the money sitting in the bank to pay for it. And they're like, well, everybody else gets it. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Like, at that point, you can't like turn and say, well, now I'm not conservative anymore because if somebody else is going to get it, I might as well get it too. Like, no, you got to be consistent. And it's hard. I don't deny, and I'm not non-compassionate about it. But at the same time, like, that's the discussion we're having right now is we've got to cut. And the biggest place of government waste, fraud, and abuse is in entitlements.
Right.
Yeah. And I'll even say, like, the government should not be guaranteeing your retirement. Like, you should, if you want to stop working someday, you should put money away so you could do that.
Right.
It shouldn't be, well, the government's going to take care of me when I retire. I got my Social Security coming in. That shouldn't be anybody's mindset. That's not the government's job.
Well,
but so many people didn't do it.
Yeah.
But
it's sad.
But there are so many people our age, when I talk to them about what are you doing for retirement as part of like my job and what I do, they say, well, I'm just going to get my Social Security. I'm like, that just shouldn't be your plan. Like, the government should never, like what Reagan said, like the scariest thing you could hear is someone knock on the door and say, hey, I'm from the government. I'm here to help. Like, that should scare you.
Yeah.
That should never be your plan, is like, I'm going to depend on the government. But there are so many people depending on the government. That's the financial problem we have in our country. And I'm off my soapbox and done. We talked about storms on this pod. We are getting a doozy. We'll see.
And when they talk about how bad it is, and then you're like, okay, well, how far into that?
So they have that 1 to 5 scale.
Yeah.
This is the first time I've ever seen us in a level 4, though.
Yeah.
No, we've had some level 3s, but I'm expecting a lot of wind and some hail. But thankfully, so I am on our street. I'm on my backyard faces like that northwest. So I have a whole row of houses
Right.
between me and that direction that kind of breaks that wind up. But actually, my next door neighbors, they're on a trip this week, and they sent me a text. They're like, "Hey, I bought some anchors to put my trampoline down, but I did not put them in." And so, whenever we finish this up, I'm gonna go over there and
I secured mine.
put some anchors in the ground and strap that thing down. And I'm gonna double check our big play set because it reaches up above the fence. Make sure that sucker's bolted down. But what I'm really, this is such an old man thing to say. What I'm most upset about with the wind we're going to get tonight is I have a Natchez crepe myrtle, which is it's the white flowers crepe myrtle in my backyard. And that thing that bloomed in the last couple of weeks, and it's gorgeous. And the wind's going to blow all those blooms off. That is such an old man thing to say. I'm worried about the flowers on my crepe myrtle. When did this happen? When did we get old, Kyle?
Happened to me quick. Talking about that, yeah, it looks like we're about to get a little bit of rain right now.
I knew a few lines were going to come through.
Not the big stuff till tonight. I was telling my wife, I've been working outside a lot in the heat because it's good for you. And she comes out, she's like, "Are you coming in?" I'm like, I think I'm just going to sit out here and sweat a little bit more because it's good for me. It sucks, but it's really good for me. Okay. Sorry. I had to use the potty.
But Trump and Elon, I think the bill's going to pass. I think Elon's going to be against it all the way forward. I think he's going to continue to talk against it. I don't think this rift continues. But also it is interesting to see Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries are all loving Elon now.
Yeah.
Y'all. He wants to cut government spending. Your problem with this bill is that it cuts government spending.
Right.
He's just saying it doesn't do it enough.
Right.
Idiots. Just Trump, orange man bad.
Let's hop in a little bit to Ukraine, Russia. So over the last 2 weeks, I guess, a week and a half, each has attacked each other. The big one was right after Zelensky came into town. There was a pretty big attack inside Russia on both sides on all of their nuclear aircraft. Not all, but a good majority of them.
I have a story about that, but I'm going to save it for the next time we record. I have a family member in Europe right now with a story, but I don't want to talk about it until back safe in the States.
So they hit the bombers, possibly some submarines, and then Russia retaliated with some hitting of civilian locations, typical wartime aspects and attacks. The biggest question has been, what did Trump know and when did he know it, and did he know it all? And then I want to talk a little bit about the drone warfare that's going on. I don't know if you've been paying attention to that at all. So I think that probably Trump knew it was coming. To the level that he knew, I don't know. I mean, obviously they knew that something was probably going to happen at some point.
Yeah.
But when he said that, you don't have the cards in the Oval Office exchange that they had, he said that you didn't have the cards. And I can't help but wonder, they said that they've been planning this now for 18 months or something like that. Zelensky knew that something like this was going to happen when he was there. So it's I give him kudos for keeping his mouth shut while he was there.
Right.
Instead of saying hey, we'll just wait and see what happens. You know what I mean? But then also, the needle for me has moved that I think that maybe we'll see a Russian. What was it? 2 episodes ago, we talked about would we see a change in government? Which one would we see a governmental change before the other?
My thought is this war is not going to end with both of these men leading these countries.
Correct.
Now, I've always come down on the side of, I've gone back and forth a little bit, always come down on the side that Zelensky's going to be the one that's going to be out,
right?
Not Putin. But I don't think this war ever ends with both of them still leading their countries.
I didn't think it would happen, that it would be Putin that leaves, but now the rhetoric has shifted to where it might be, because you're seeing some of those underlying hey, we don't really like this. We don't this is escalating to a high level.
If he loses the people, then
yeah,
but I think I've always thought the people were strongly behind him because I think he wants to basically recreate the USSR
yes,
and take all this land back. And I think the people want that too.
agreed.
But if he loses the people, I think that's definitely a possibility.
It'll just be interesting as you keep seeing these attacks happen against each other, and then the continued front of being right on the western side, eastern side of Ukraine. Does that? Yeah, there's a cell coming over right now. Will that continue to be a part of the continued rhetoric of, are we going to see a switch?
Yeah.
Because I think originally I didn't think Zelensky made it through the rest of this year as far as like being voted in an election and things like that. But they're going to have to both go through an election cycle again before this ends. And I want to...
Yeah, but I mean...
I know.
Russian elections are certainly not, and I doubt Ukraine ones are either.
Yeah. But they're going to have some sort of... They're going to have something happen like that.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about an assassination attempt either, because that's not what I'm saying. But what I just think you're going to see some sort of a change happen, whether it's the way each country perceives each other, which I don't think that's going to change, but maybe they perceive this conflict as different, or it's going to be even worse. It's going to continue to keep going.
Yeah, and I don't know if Putin, like, there are people who say they do. Like, you don't know what you don't know. I don't know that Putin hasn't won all of these elections. Like, think about how many American presidents have come and gone, and Putin's always been in power.
Yes.
I don't know that he's actually legitimately won all of those, and I don't know that he hasn't. But if he hasn't, okay, if it is people keeping him in power, if you start to lose those people, then he's going to be out of power.
1999 is when he came into power.
Yeah. 26 years.
That's a long time.
That is a long time.
We talk about our term limits.
That's monarchy. Yeah.
I just think that too, like, we're seeing a different warfare play out than what we've ever seen before. Now, with social media and live streaming and all of the things that play and the new technology that's coming about. So originally the drones were being used, but they found out a way you could block the radio communications between the pilot and the drone, and they were just downing them pretty quickly. Now they're using fiber optic cables. But now what you're seeing is people are getting, the soldiers on both sides are getting closer and closer to where the drones are taking off, and they're just cutting the wires, and it just falls to the ground. The drone does. But there's a whole other aspect of this is now you're seeing a different style of war that we've never seen before. It's very much science fiction, to where you literally hear the drone go phew, right over their heads. And like I was watching a TikTok or something, or reel or some sort, where this Ukrainian general is being interviewed by a member of the media, and you hear it, and it goes right over their head, and he goes, "It's a good day," and then he just keeps going. It's like, that is savage right there, because he knows what's on that drone. And again, it may be AI. You know what I'm saying? Like, this didn't appear to be AI.
That's what I mean. Like, we're all sitting over here talking about this, and we don't know what we don't know.
And it's hard to even like determine what's real and what's not.
My thing is, like, all the people are like, man, Trump needs to do something about this. It's two different countries. Like, you can do whatever you can. Like, you can try, and he certainly is trying. You see, the effort, the meetings,
right.
The State Department officials, Rubio, Trump, they are trying. But you can't go tell two other free independent countries what to go do.
Right. And it's hard to judge which side is winning and which side is losing.
Yeah.
Like, you can go off numbers, because that's what historians will do, is like, who's winning the war based off the numbers. Well, if you go off of that, just off of lives lost, it's obviously the Ukrainians, because the Russians have lost a lot more, but they also have a lot more to lose.
A lot more to lose, exactly.
So it's hard to tell. Like, I remember when it happened, when they invaded Ukraine. I can't remember if we've talked about this or not, but like, I remember telling my students, like, there's no way this is going to happen. There's no way. Like, there's no way it's just a build up. It's all for show. And then he rolled the tanks across, and I was like, I totally misjudged this. I was way wrong about that. Sorry, guys. And we watched it. We literally watched it off of YouTube. We watched it live. And I just remember thinking, like, this totally changes everything, because now everything is going to be live. there will be no delay in like we totally forget that the pipeline was blown up in the Black Sea.
I know.
We totally forget about that.
Yeah.
We totally forget about the bridges that were blown up going into Ukraine,
Mm-hmm.
and that the Russian assets need, because that's how they're getting equipment in and out of
Mm-hmm.
Ukraine right now. They blew up that bridge. I can't remember where it's at, but it's a major thoroughfare. You can boat it in and you can airlift it in, but to have the trucks and the rails bring it in is way more effective and efficient. So it'll be who runs out of equipment first.
Yeah.
That's what it's going to be. And that's why this attack that the Ukrainians did against the Russians was such a big deal.
Yeah.
Because you're now attacking their air power. And then it's been a week since that happened now.
Yeah.
And everybody, I remember all of the things. I remember thinking like, okay, this is a good thing we're not talking about this today, because the rhetoric will change tomorrow, which it did, because everybody's like, oh, now nuclear weapons, be ready. Tomorrow, we're going to see a nuclear attack. Well, tomorrow was 3 weeks ago. It still didn't happen, And it'll be interesting as we continue to analyze what is happening. What's the long-term goal?
I think maps are going to change. Honestly, if I have to make a decision and say today what I think is going to happen, I think the land that Russia says they're going to wind up with today is what they're actually going to wind up with. I think maps are going to change. That eastern edge of Ukraine that Russia has claimed will become a part of Russia. They'll redraw it. And I don't think much is going to change on that line between now and the end of the war, whenever that actually happens. I think there'll be a lot more fighting. I don't think it's anywhere near over, but I think that's going to be the end result. And we're going to look back and say, you could have done that a year or two ago, and you got the same result.
Yeah. And it'll just be, it's just.
And I think if Zelensky doesn't step down before that, he'll be ousted at that time, and then we'll move on.
You can't continue. Neither side can continue to expect the Americans to intervene.
Yeah.
That time has ended for now. Now, the Russians could drag this out another 4 years and we have a change of power here, and the whole concept and conversation changes to something very different, which is definitely a possibility. That's crazy to think that it could be 4 more years of this same conversation over and over and over. We won't have that conversation over.
No.
But I just think that I think it goes back to what we've talked about. There's going to have to be some sort of political landscape change.
Yeah.
And what that is unknown at the moment. Have you been paying attention to the trade tariff hearings?
Mm-hmm.
Did you hear the Kennedy one?
Mm-hmm. I can play it if you want.
Let's play it.
This is our Senator Kennedy of Louisiana, which has a major port, the Port of Orleans. So I'm sure he has gotten some pushback on tariffs. Gosh, who is he talking to? I don't know the guy's title.
Lutnick.
Yeah,
his name. Howard Lutnick.
He's in the administration and the treasury. Oh, okay, I'll just play it. This is a hearing.
Department of Commerce.
If Vietnam, for example, came to you tomorrow and said, okay, Mr. Secretary, you win. We're going to remove all tariffs and all trade barriers. Would the United States please do the same? Would you accept that deal?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Absolutely not. That would be the silliest thing we could do.
Why is that?
Vietnam has a $125 billion exports to us and imports from us $12.5 million. And you're thinking, Vietnam exports $125 billion?
I'm aware of the figures, but tell me.
But where
why
do they
you-
get it from? They buy $90 billion from China, then they mark it up and send it to us.
So you
They're
wouldn't-
just a
you wouldn't-
pathway of China to us.
You wouldn't accept that deal.
No, it's a terrible deal. We're the one with money. We're the one with the
then
store. Of
what's
course
the
they
purpose,
want us to take
what's
down.
the purpose of reciprocity then?
I want to pause it. I want to talk. This is it's just a couple minutes clip, but I'm going to pause and kind of talk through this as we listen to it. What Lutnick, the Secretary of Commerce, is the argument he's about to make with Senator Kennedy. You're going to hear Senator Kennedy say the word reciprocity more times than you want to hear Senator Kennedy say reciprocity. In Senator Kennedy's mind, reciprocity is only equal tariffs between two countries. That is a much oversimplistic view of reciprocity. If Vietnam, which is who Senator Kennedy uses as the example, comes to us and says, hey, we'll have no zero tariffs, you have zero tariffs, we'll call it a day, he thinks that is a good thing with reciprocity. But what Secretary Lutnick is starting to talk about is there is a massive difference between us and Vietnam. Two things. First of all, Vietnam doesn't actually make this stuff. They're a conduit for China.
Right.
So they're taking it from China and marketing it up, like you said, just and selling it into us at the tune of $125 billion compared to our $12.5 million going out. And so what Secretary Lutnick, the argument he's about to make is we are not the same. And so reciprocity applies to more things than just the percentage of what your tariff is.
I also want to make the point, Kennedy and Lutnick are on the same political spectrum.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Is
For those that don't know.
reciprocity not one of your goals? Are you telling the president that we shouldn't seek reciprocity? If that's what you're telling him, why are you trying to do these trade deals?
What do we want? We want to encourage Vietnam to produce products they're great at
But I want to
producing.
get back to reciprocity. You just said you don't believe in it. You don't accept reciprocity as a goal. What are you negotiating in these trade
But
deals?
why would we
then?
open our bank account and
What-
their bank account when
Why are
ours is
you
10 times bigger?
negotiating trade deals? You're trying to get other countries to lower their tariffs and trade barriers in return for us lowering ours. I think
That's true for the things that they'll take from us.
That's called reciprocity.
Of course.
So are you or are you not seeking reciprocity in these trade deals?
We are absolutely seeking reciprocity with respect to things that can be reciprocal.
That's a key statement from Secretary Lutnick. We are actively seeking reciprocity for things that can be reciprocal. For things to be reciprocal between us and Vietnam, as using this example, has a lot more to do with just what the tariff percentage is.
Right.
If we have 0 and 0 on the tariff side, they are still selling more things into our country than they are buying from us. That's not reciprocal.
Right.
So you have to have higher tariffs on our side, which does two things. And we have a quarter of the clip left. I'll play it in a second, but it does two things. One, it lets Vietnam know we're not going to let you be a conduit for China.
Right.
We're going to tariff those things. It also protects American manufacturing. So for the things that Vietnam is selling into us, okay, through the conduit of China, we want to be able to, we got the flyback, we want to be able to protect our American interest, because people in America, companies, manufacturers in America can say, we can make this stuff, but we actually have to pay our people a fair wage. We actually have to give our people benefits. I mean, you look at Huawei over in China, you look at the company that makes all of our iPhones, where they have nets around the outside of the building to keep people from jumping off of them.
Right.
Like, we don't have that here because we pay them better. We have benefits better. It's a better living experience, but that costs money.
Right.
So it's not reciprocal whenever you're competing with a country that has no human rights, no benefits. This fly's showing up at the wrong time. All right, let's listen to the rest of it.
You just said
But when they're
that
importing
if a
from
country-
China and sending
You
it to us,
just
they're
said that
not.
if a country came to you and offered you the ultimate reciprocity, no tariffs, no trade barriers, in return for us doing the same, you would reject that.
Of course, because they buy from China and send it to us. Don't you agree with
Suppose
me?
they said we won't buy from China.
Now we're talking.
That's key too. Senator Kennedy says, what if they say they won't buy from China anymore? Okay, now we're talking. Now we're getting somewhere. And so that's another part of tariffs that change behavior and get behavior to something you want. If you want Vietnam to stop buying from China, marking it up and selling it to us more to the tune of 10 times the amount that we are selling back to them, you've got to do something to get there. You got to do something to change that behavior. And so that's why the secretary says, now we're talking. Now we're getting somewhere.
Right.
Now we're talking. If it was Vietnam,
would you accept that deal?
we would consider it for what things? For
What would you want
products?
to change?
Well, there are certain products we want to reshore. We don't want other people making them. We want to make pharmaceuticals here.
All right.
We need to protect ourselves.
And so he said, first of all, I hate hypotheticals because
Right,
like you're just in the wind. Okay. And so, he's being asked to answer a hypothetical. He's like, well, we would consider it. You can't say, oh yeah, we take that deal tomorrow. Like the Secretary of Commerce can be like, yeah, sure. Let's say in this Senate hearing that we will take that deal tomorrow. No. So we would consider it. And because it would change that behavior, get them to stop being a conduit for China. But also we want to, he said reshore. It's not like we said reshore. What he's saying is we want to reshore,
Right.
bring that back into our country to put our people to work and to boost the American economy instead of boosting Vietnam and China's economy.
Right.
Like that is a good goal for us to have. And like, I think Senator Kennedy, he is dang conservative. He's not,
Right.
He's not a liberal or center type of Republican. He is very conservative, but he has a large port in his state that has, by certainty, has seen less volume and so less money coming in to his state. And I'm sure he's getting pushback. You're our senator. You need to talk to the Secretary of Commerce.
And find out what's
I'm
going on.
sure that a lot of his constituents said, we just need reciprocity. We're not saying no tariffs. We just need reciprocity. And so that's why he just keeps saying that word.
Right.
But this is a goal. Like this is what we are trying to accomplish, is to boost the American economy.
We need to also understand that China is our enemy.
Yeah.
And they are, I use the word war, but that's not really what I mean. It's a proxy war through other places.
Through commerce.
Through commerce.
Yeah.
Through agriculture.
Mhm.
Through pharmaceuticals.
Yep.
Through everything. And so as we continue to have these conversations about tariffs and things like that, you need to, the people who are listening need to understand that this isn't just about Vietnam, right? So if we over tariff Vietnam, there's a reason for that. It's because of what Lutnick said.
Yeah.
It's because they are a player with China.
Yeah. It's the same thing with the Panama Canal.
Correct.
Like, why are we, why did Trump go and attack Panama? Not attack's probably the wrong word to use, but why did he economically attack Panama? Because they were in the pocket of China.
Right.
And if the Panama Canal falls to Chinese control, that is a big problem for us.
Correct.
And so that was like the one-day economic war. I mean, Trump made the threat, and they're like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
At first, the Panamanian president said, "No way," and then like the next day, he was like, "Yeah, actually, you know what? Warships it's can just pass for free. Like, it's cool,
But I think it goes back to a bigger picture too of what the fight that we're going to continue to have is like. There's a big thing right now on the docket when they come back, is talking about not allowing foreign nationals to own land next to military bases.
Yeah.
And I think
the governor of Arizona just vetoed a bill that passed the Arizona House and Senate and went to her desk.
And she vetoed it.
And she vetoed it.
Well, that's stupid.
Yeah.
Well, the big one that I had heard about was in North and South Dakota, and they both passed it and said no longer.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the other side coming up and saying, well, you're saying that you're not going to allow illegal to own land, a legal foreign national to own land next to a military base. No,
and that's okay.
Well, but and the response was that I heard was, well, can you go and own one in China?
I don't care.
In Germany? But that's my point.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to go over to China and own one either.
No.
But there's a reason why they want that land.
Yes. And if there was an American who said, I want to go buy land right next to a military base in Germany, there's a reason for that.
Correct.
Why would they pick that piece of land?
Because they want to harm Americans.
There's a reason for that.
And I just think too, like we in America are so safe in our space. Right? We're so safe in that space. We're so safe. We're protected by oceans. And the easiest way to fall, and Rome saw this too, is within our own self.
Yeah.
And the easiest way that this is going to happen is generations of comfort and generations of not being aware of who is in our surroundings.
And I hate cliche things too, but it's that whole thing about like, hard times make strong men, and like strong men make good times, and good times make weak men. Like that whole like cycle. That's again going back to the military parade. I think that's why some people don't like it, because they don't realize how important that is and how important that national pride is, that this is a real threat. And the people that are getting the intelligence briefings every single morning are saying, we don't need to allow this to happen.
There has to be a level of trust in government.
Mm-hmm.
I say that with a little bit of a little bit of hesitation. But there's a reason why American people don't need to know everything.
That was the biggest problem with Biden, is that you just sleep at the wheel.
Yes.
You know, and
literally.
because literally when Obama was presented with the opportunity to go get Osama bin Laden, he went and got him.
Right.
Like, doesn't matter. Like it used to be, like, that's why I keep saying Biden is the outlier. Like, Clinton had the opportunity to protect our country. He did. Obama had the opportunity to go get Osama bin Laden. He did. Like Bush, now Trump, like, you've got to have that president. Like I said, you've got to have some trust. Like, hey, whether I voted for you or not, you are the person in charge, and I am trusting you as an American, whether that's misplaced, misguided, whatever it is. I'm an American citizen, and I'm trusting you to protect us in this way.
And there's been zero protection over the last 4 years.
That's it. That was the biggest problem with Biden. Is he's just completely asleep at the wheel, and if it didn't fit in with the woke agenda, then it didn't fit with whatever he was doing, and he was not doing the things a president, commander in chief, is supposed to do. And I think that's why, just to tie a bow on my thought on that, I think that's why you get why this is such a right turn. Like, because you've had this 4 years of just none of that. It's just been all social wokeness isms. That's been what the presidency and the administration has been about. And now you have this hard right turn, and I don't mean hard left or whatever you call it, hard right turn into, like, no, this is what the president is supposed to do.
Correct.
Like, we're protecting American interests because he's the president. He's the CEO of America.
And I think this was my problem with the first term of Trump, is because he wasn't presidential. I haven't felt like one time, like, we've seen some mean tweets, but it was so little. It's been so.
That's what's bothered me the most about the Elon fight. It's like some of the things he's tweeting about. I'm like, that is like, I haven't seen this from you in this term, this Trump 2.0.
But I even felt like Trump 2.0 and Trump 1.0 would have been
Trump
very
1.0
different.
That's all you would have seen.
Correct.
Like, you wouldn't have seen anything else being tweeted about or done by Trump in Trump 1.0 with this Elon fight. It would have been all about the Elon fight. So at least now it's like jab, 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 and I kind of haven't seen anything the last couple of days. And like, now we're going to get back to running the country and back to the agenda.
And I think that I almost, in that, not the woke part, not the ism of woke, but the lack of a presidential president. We had that for 8 years.
Yeah.
And so now we almost have a decade behind us of just complete chaos.
Yeah.
And a lot of Trump's, I know we're Trump bros or Rogan bros or whatever people want to call it. It's part of the MAGA cult. But he didn't do a very good job the first time of being presidential.
Yeah. And I think, I agree with you. And I think a big part of that, which falls completely on his shoulders, is the people he had around him.
100%.
That's a big problem. And like, but you can't pass all the blame to that because he's the one who put him there.
Correct.
Like, he's the chief, he's the CEO, and he put these people that were not going to allow him to be what our country needed at that time coming out of the Obama years.
Right. And I think that was my biggest issue, and it seems to have been addressed.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, they haven't come out and been like, hey, he's being more presidential this time. No, but the actions that are in front of us are dramatically different than the last 8 years.
There was a lot more in Trump 1.0 when he would be even just talking in a news conference or tweeting something, I'd be like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like, this doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like, these little feuds and fights and petty things and these big all caps tweets, like, this doesn't matter.
Right. This is not what's best for the country.
Right. Like, and you see so much less of that now. I agree.
Well, and it goes back to what we talked about early in our podcast, is the group that he has surrounded himself with are dramatically different.
Mm-hmm.
And those people seem to be able to hold some accountability in him and with him to where if they came to him and said, we need to do this, I believe that he trusts them. And we haven't seen any, except for the one with the text exchange that got out. We haven't seen any turnover in the first 100 days. I kind of like it.
Yeah. There'll be more to talk about there, but that's all I have for right now.
Okay, and then I don't want to dive into this, but I want to give a little preview. we do recognize that the Texas legislation has ended.
Mhm.
Not all bills have been signed or vetoed yet. So he still has a couple more days. I don't remember. I know that it ended on the 2nd, and there's a time period where he can veto or sign them. I would suspect that before the middle of June, all of the bills will be passed. There were several big educational bills passed. We'll talk in depth about those. I'm working on someone coming on to kind of explain the school finance stuff. Hasn't fully come to fruition just yet, but I'm working on that. But
Big week.
for me,
I'm asking. No?
Nah.
Your summertime?
summertime. Yeah, we
I start my marathon of travel this week.
Yeah.
So I fly out tomorrow, Florida, then to San Antonio for a couple days, then back home, and then we take just me and my wife vacation home for a couple days, and then we take a big road trip heading out west with everybody. So in the next month, between basically after tonight to July 7th, I'll be at home in my bed 3 nights.
Whoa.
So we do kind of bunch up our travel, but
Most
also,
people do in the summer.
Yeah. We tend to. We have kids that do high school things, and like
Right.
in Texas, high school sports and activities go back in kind of the middle of July. So we've always like kind of bunched all of our travel up in June, and then we kind of have church camps at the beginning of July after July
Right.
4th, and then they're back to school. Like,
Right.
and so I have a daughter who's going to be a senior, and so she's got that starting in July, and then she'll graduate. But then I got a 8th grader who's going to be in 8th grade next year, and she'll be going into band. She'll be starting that in July. So we're
Right.
kind of going to be in this cycle. And then we got kids coming up behind her, boys playing sports. So
Right.
we'll be in that. So we kind of bunch all our travel up, but we will still record. The pod may look different. Like I may be on location. A little bit, not so much the garage recording coming up, but we'll still record throughout the summer and get some pods in for sure.
But yeah, it'll be irregular, but that's okay.
Yeah, it's summertime.
Yep. Have a good week.
See ya.
Be safe.